Okay, so we can do some restorative work. You might not want to, you might be really warm because it's like 31 degrees today in Manchester, and I think it's pretty warm around the country. So you might not want to necessarily or it might not necessarily feel very intuitive to cover your mat with something kind of fluffy like a towel or a blanket. But actually, it shouldn't overheat you, and it should just give you a little bit of extra comfort. So it's just nice to just give yourself that extra layer of comfort, just to kind of help you to relax a little bit more. But if it makes you feel a bit hot, then of course you can just take it away. Just get your blanket, make sure that it's evenly folded. So mine's all over the place, so let me just fold this up a bit better. So an even fold just gives you a more kind of level support. So just layer it out, and then it feels nice and level for your head. Have a bolster just for underneath your knees, and then have some support for your feet. And then our typical basic relaxation pose just helps us to kind of get into the headspace required for genuine relaxation. So the bolster is underneath your knees, your blocks are underneath the backs of your calves. Just make sure that the legs feel evenly supported. Just move your equipment slightly if you feel that it's not quite supporting you evenly. Just feel that the body can release down into the floor. So I always think that this is one of the nicest moments of a restorative class, where you finally lay down after a busy day. Perhaps you've been sitting at a desk, you've been doing some gardening, maybe you've had quite a sedate day. Regardless of the activities of the day, just this opportunity to release into the floor is really welcome. So adjust your position in the equipment if you need to. But just allow yourself to genuinely release the arms and legs by unhooking the muscles and allowing yourself to gently let go of the tensions of the day. Just focus on your breath. Fill in your lungs from the bottom to the top. Emptying your lungs from the top to the bottom. With each exhalation, just allow yourself to relax a little bit more with each exhalation. Give yourself permission to be here. Give yourself permission to relax. Just enjoy the quietness and the lack of demand on your body and your mind. So while this isn't a practice of stillness or the challenge of stillness, we find that stillness will come as we release into the floor, into the bolster, into the bricks, into the blanket supporting your head. Become conscious of your skin, observing where your skin makes contact with the air, where the air makes contact with your skin. Draw your attention into the soles of your feet. So that the skin and the soles of the feet become more consciously alert. Draw your attention to the soles of the feet and completely allow the soles of the feet to relax, softening the skin and the flesh and the muscle and the bone. Draw your attention to the tops of your feet. Draw your attention to the tops of the feet and then relax the skin and the flesh and the muscles and the bones of the tops of the feet. Draw your attention to your shins. Draw your attention into your shins and allow the shins to sink into the bed of the calf muscle. Sinking into the floor, sinking into the bolster and the blocks that support the legs. Draw your attention into your kneecaps. Consciously soften the skin and the flesh and the muscle and the bone around the kneecap. Draw your attention into your kneecaps and soften the skin and the muscle around the kneecap, allowing the kneecap to sink into the back of the knee. Draw your attention toward your thighs. Draw your attention into your thighs and allow the skin of the thighs to become alert. And then consciously soften the skin and the muscle so that the fronts of the thighs sink into the backs of the thighs. Draw your attention into your pelvis. Feel the skin around the front of the pelvis and bone underneath the skin, and allow the skin to relax and the flesh to relax and the muscles beneath the flesh to relax. And allow the pelvis to completely release into the floor. So that the legs and the feet and the pelvis become heavy, yet strangely light at the same time. Draw your attention into your torso, becoming conscious of the skin and the muscle. And then allow the skin around the torso to soften. Soften into the flesh and the muscle. And allow your breath to become gentle as you release the torso into the floor. And then relax the torso completely into the floor. Drawing your attention into your arms, into your upper arms and your lower arms. Drawing your attention into your arms and into your hands. Just be conscious of how the air, makes contact with the skin. And as you remain, allow your arms to completely release into the floor. Unhooking the muscles so that your arms become heavy. Releasing the arms and the hands into the floor. Draw your attention into your neck. Release your neck into the floor and draw your attention into your skull. Being conscious of the skin stretching down from the crown of the skull all the way down into your forehead, into your ears, and into the back of your neck. And consciously release the skin and the muscle and the bone beneath the face and beneath the ears and the skull. Just basking in the glow of relaxation. And when you're ready to disturb yourself, just wriggle your toes, wiggle your fingers, just bring yourself back into this pose of Shavasana. And then bend your knees and gently roll over onto your right side and then sit yourself up. Okay, so you can move the blocks from underneath your feet, and then just get your blanket and unfold it so that you've got this kind of long, thin blanket, and then again just make sure that it's kind of pretty well folded, and then fold it down the middle so you've got a long, thin blanket, and then one more time down the middle. So we've got this little bolster for your back. So if you've got like a hemmed edge, then have that for your head. You don't want that in your back because it's going to feel uncomfortable. So we're just going to do our spinal lengthening pose. If this is uncomfortable for you, Christine, this should be nice, but if it feels uncomfortable, then you can just put the bolster underneath your back and lay back in Supta Baddha Konasana, the kind of butterfly pose. So you don't want to be too close to the blanket. You're not sitting on the blanket. So just give yourself a little bit of space. And then the bolster is underneath your knees. And then you just lift your chest as you guide yourself down along the folded blanket, and then get hold of the end and then roll it up so that it supports your head. Let the tailbone be kind of hanging off the edge, and then have of the little blanket, and then have your knees so that the backs of your calf muscles are being supported by the bolster. Your feet can just be floating in the air. So this pose gives you a sense of elongation in your spine. It's really good for your energy. So on warm days like today, it's often zaps our energy a little. So this will just give you a little gentle release and release your energy at the same time. So as is usual, I'll stop talking quite so much just to give you the opportunity to just let go without having to listen. Remember that if you're not comfortable, just until you are. There's nothing to benefit from just styling it out. If you're not comfortable, adjust. When you're ready to disturb yourself, just gently wriggle your toes and your fingers, bend your knees, bring your feet onto the bolster, and then very gently just roll yourself off the bolster and then bring yourself up into a seated position. Just unfold your blanket once and then fold it down the middle, so you've got this kind of quite thick, narrow blanket. And again, we're keeping the bolster where it is, and this is just going to go in our shoulder blade region. So we can do the mountain spring pose, where you have the blanket in your shoulder blade region, your head is on the floor, and then just rest your arms over your head. So the bolster is underneath your knees. So this feels like the chest opens really deeply. So the blanket is in your shoulder blade region. Just offering a little release in your neck and in your shoulders. If it's uncomfortable for your shoulders, then you might want to put your hands on a lift like a block or a couple of other cushions. Otherwise, just allow yourself to release into the floor. So mountain brook. I think I called it mountain stream a minute ago. The pose is called mountain brook. In this pose, the armpit region is opened up, bringing energy into the immune system. And then when you're ready, just bring your arms just to rest on, bring your hands to rest on your lower ribs. Bend your knees again, and then again, just gently roll off your lift. And then just move your blanket out of the way. So we can do a little bridge pose, a supported bridge. So you might, ideally you need 2 bolsters for this one. If you haven't got 2 bolsters, you can just use 1 bolster and then some cushions for underneath your legs. It's good to have a blanket, so not blanket, belt for this. So you're gonna have your either your 2 bolsters or a bolster and some support for underneath your legs, and then you sit yourself on top of the top bolster, and then you put your belt into a loop, and then you thread that loop around your legs. So you just put it quite tight, but we're not trying to kind of stop any circulation, just so that it kind of keeps your legs in place. So a bolster for around the tops of your knees, and then with your legs supported, you can roll off the edge of your bolster. Now you might need a few attempts to get comfort for the spine, so you might want to just shuffle down a little, and then again, just like in the previous pose, you can let your arms rest on the floor over your head. If that's too strong for your back, then maybe having the arms at the sides of the body might be a little more gentle. So just, if this is too strong for your back, so Christine, I'm thinking for you really this could be quite strong for your back. So for you, perhaps what you can do is just Supta Baddha Konasana with the bolster underneath you. So you've got the bolster underneath your back, and then your feet together and your knees apart. So whichever pose you're doing, just find your comfortable position. And allow yourself to release into the floor. So you can just let your legs fall apart, just letting the belt just hold your legs in place. So in this pose, the chest gaze lifted, come right onto the tops of your shoulders so that there is a very gentle Jalandhara Bandha, the chin locking into the chest a little. This pose really revives your energy. To come out of the pose, just bend your knees. You might not be able to get the belt off your feet, off your knees, but just bring your feet over to one side of the bolster and then very gently just guide yourself down off your lift and then bring yourself up into a seated position. And then just to finish off with a final little tiny back bend. And again, I'll give you an alternative if you're not doing a back bend. Just bring the bolster underneath the small of the back with your feet on the floor. And then you can just either keep your hands resting on your ribs and come right up onto your shoulders, or again, you can rest your arms over your head. So if you're not doing a back bend, if you're avoiding back legs, then you can just stay with the bolster underneath your back, but rather than Baddha Konasana legs, you can just have the legs outstretched like this, so that the chest is nice and open. If that's too strong for your back, then just go back to your basic relaxation pose with the bolster underneath your knees, blanket underneath your head, and maybe the blocks underneath your feet. So whichever of those feels it's going to support your back in the best way. So this is another version of a supported bridge, just a little inversion that can help to just relieve tension and revive your energy. If you're in this new version of the supported bridge, you can always increase the inversion by bending your knees and then just lengthening your legs up in the air, or just keep your feet on the floor, whichever feels better for you. Or you could just move in between the two, so you can have your legs in the air, or you can bring them down, just whatever feels good for you right now. And then for the last couple of minutes, just lift the seat bones, move the bolster out of the way, just bring yourself down onto the floor, perhaps with a blanket underneath your head, and then just release down into the floor in just a straightforward Shavasana. Okay, just wriggle your toes, wriggle your fingers, bend your knees, just draw your knees in towards your chest, just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just a little grounding massage on your spine and then roll over onto your right side. Just stay down for a breath or two. And then stretch out the top leg, come back up into a seated position. Just the final cross legs with your hands in the masti, just a final spinal lift. Draw your breath down into the abdominal region. Conscious of the energy that you've released through your gentle yoga practice this evening, that good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the gentle poses bring to the body and to the mind. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to seek to acknowledge the positive energy you've created inside, and then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then release the backs of your hands down towards your knees, palms facing upwards. And as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. Thank you. So hopefully you feel as though you've maybe just kind of revived the kind of tiredness that comes from a warm day, and you've given yourself lots of good positive energy to put into the rest of your evening. So thank you very much for joining me.